Hi there, I'm Brad Teare, and today I'm going to be talking about the new G-Box video. Painting in plein air with a limited palette isn't too common, but there are quite a few mistakes that can be avoided if you do limit your palette. Now I'm going to be using, in the video I use titanium white, of course, that's a given, but I use Hansa yellow light, and then Quinacridone Red and Phthalo Blue. And those are very high chroma colors, and they mix together quite easily. So these are the mistakes that you avoid. One of the things that happens out in the field, there's so much light coming in from the sun and your umbrella, reflected from wherever, that it's easy to get your colors too dark. So the light's hitting it, it looks pretty light, but it actually is very dark when you get it back in the studio. Another related effect is that your color will be too monochromatic. The light of the sun hits those colors and they look so bright. When you get it back in the studio again, it can look very monochromatic. Another thing is, if you use these three colors that I've recommended, that they blend together very even, so to make a very smooth mixture. So all of your colors are going to have the same consistency. And the reason that's good is that helps you when you're swiping with your palette knife or your brush. It helps you to get broken color if it all swipes on your brush with the same consistency. If your paint's too thick, like for example, if you put a cadmium orange onto the palette, which with most brands that's quite a thick paint, you're going to have you're either going to have to thin it out a little bit with some walnut oil or something, linseed oil, and very few people do that out of the tube. So this is a way to keep a very even texture with all your mixtures. And finally, it's a way to achieve color harmony. And a lot of very famous painters have used a limited palette with great effect. I've always been a little bit dubious of it, but I've tried it out and it works great. It's a way to simplify the way you think about color too. It can kind of break you out of the mold if you're thinking of, oh, this is a burnt sienna, or this is a purple, dioxazine purple, for example. You know, you can mix up similar colors. I would almost go so far to say that if you can't mix it on your palette, you shouldn't add it later. So if you want to use a burnt sienna, it's really better to learn how to mix a burnt sienna. So you can get, the experience of, what colors go into that color. What exactly is burnt sienna? I know that it's a very low value orange, but when you actually have to get in and mix that, it's very useful. So this first video is approximately 1/3 of the painting session, so primarily talk about using the limited palette, but I also get into a little bit of palette work. And the next video will be blocking in the colors with a palette knife. So I hope that'll be equally as interesting. So I hope you'll give this G-Box video a try and let me know what you think.